the council come to order, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Anderson.
Present.
Oliver.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Hager-Smith is absent. Mattingly.
Here.
Sutphin.
Here.
Watson.
Present. We'll go ahead and get started then. This is the December 10th Blacksburg Town Council meeting. The mayor's out of town, so I'll be chairing the meeting tonight. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If the former vice mayor would please lead us in the pledge.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With the consent agenda, we have several items on the consent agenda tonight. Item A is the Town Council minutes from November 12th, November 19th, and November 26th. We'll be approving those tonight. Item B is the recommended capital improvement program for fiscal years 2025-26 through 2029-2030. We'll be scheduling the public hearing on that for January 14th. Ordinance 2068, an ordinance rezoning land at 402 Clay Street from R5 transitional residential to planned residential zoning. We'll introduce the ordinance and schedule the public hearing for January 14th. A contract for design build services at 414 North Main Street. We're going to authorize the town manager to sign that contract. A contract for Blacksburg Transit renovations, additions, and new fuel/wash facility. The action there is approval. Resolution 12A24, a resolution referring to the Planning Commission a proposed amendment to Section 5701 of the subdivision ordinance regarding the construction and design of sanitary sewer. Our action is approval. Amendment for affordable housing, and our action is to authorize the town manager to sign the agreement. And if you've listened to our recent meetings, you know that this is probably the point in the council meeting while we're reading a statement. So what we're going to be doing tonight is items A through F, and then separately consider item G. Let me go ahead and read that statement. The Virginia State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act requires that I make disclosure to be recorded in town records in any case in which I am forbidden to participate. Therefore, I make the following disclosure. The transaction involved is authorizing the town manager to sign the agreement for affordable housing with Community Housing Partners. My personal interest is my employment in Community Housing Partners, which would benefit from additional funding for the Legacy Project if the agreement for affordable housing is approved. CHP headquarters is located at 448 Depot Street in Christiansburg, Virginia. I relate that I will not the agreement for housing. So with that statement, is there a motion on items A through F on the consent agenda?
I move approval of consent agenda items A through F.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Oliver.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Mattingly.
Aye.
Sutphin.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
And do we have another motion?
I move approval of consent agenda item G.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ford.
Aye.
Mattingly. Sutphin.
Abstain.
Watson.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Oliver.
Aye.
With that, we'll move on to public hearings. We have one public hearing tonight. That's ordinance 2067 of the Town Code pertaining to animals and fowl by repealing section 5105 and amending sections 5107 and 5200. We'll start with the staff presentation.
These are all unrelated changes to the town code that regarding the keeping of animals and fowl that just by happenstance happened, so that we'll put them all in one ordinance. I'll start with the first change, which is the deletion of the regulation in the town code or the prohibition in the town code that regarding the keeping of hogs. There was a case earlier this year about a person who had hogs on their property that were really not your typical hogs, but were kind of more like pet-like in nature, and the council approved a special exception with some conditions to permit that. But part of that action required that the council repeal the existing section 5105 of the town code. And it really makes sense beyond just those specific facts because the zoning ordinance regulates agriculture and the keeping of hogs and other animals. And so if the zoning ordinance regulates the keeping of all of their farm animals, why would we have a subsection in another part of the town code? This would repeal section 5105. There's also a section in our code called 5106, dangerous animals registration, and it has a requirement that if you own a dangerous animal, then you have to register and obtain a permit for that registration. We don't let people come in an inquiry regarding this probably 6 months ago, and just kind of like it's taken a while to conversation back and forth with the owner, and then finally a light going off in my head about it. In this case, the person owned a, I believe it's a falcon, and the falcon is, it's not something that you can just go to the falcon store and get. It's highly regulated by the state, and as well as hawks and owls. So we think that it's sufficient to rely on the state regulation, inspections, and things like that. So the code will change so that there's an exception for ownership of a falcon, hawk, or owl as permitted by the state code section that regulates them. And finally, years ago, the town went down the road with its leash law of permitting the use of electronic leashes and training devices. So you could use that in lieu of a physical leash. And then there's a decision that only a physical leash would be used. But there was a citizen comment not too long ago that said, you know, it would really help if you called it out so that people, you know, the existing language talks about that the dog has to be kept secured on a leash or led by other means of restraint not harmful to the dog, and the citizen suggested that it would really help that does not mean electronic leashes. So that's all that's doing. It's clarifying it, but hopefully that will make, you know, things more clear. So those are all the questions I have. I mean, comments I have.
Questions for Larry? We will go ahead and open this up to public comment. Anyone with public comment about Ordinance 2067, please approach. Limit your speaking time to 3 minutes and state your name and address. Anyone? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. What's council's pleasure on Ordinance 2067?
I move approval of Ordinance 2067.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any council discussion?
I think it's really cool that we have a falcon in town. On the record for saying that.
He's offered to do a demonstration for the council too.
I'm
so.
down.
Okay, with that, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mattingly,
Aye.
Sutphen,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Oliver,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. We'll move on to citizen comments. This is the portion of the evening where anyone can speak about any topic related to the town. Once again, please make your speaking time address when you approach.
Good evening, council and friends. My name is Charles Shade, S-C-H-A-D-E. I live at 401 Claremont Drive in Blacksburg. I know you all are expecting me to be here to say positive things about the, but that's in a couple of weeks. I will. This is a more serious, though small, concern, which I've been pursuing with staff for 6 months. with no result and no explanation. How many in here go to the farmer's market? You all do? Anybody back there? And you enjoy the farmer's market. Now, how many of you find it easy to park at the farmer's market? Ooh, 0, 0, 0. Okay. How many of you have ever ridden a bicycle to the farmer's market? Yeah. You find bicycle parking easy? No. Why not? Well, I'll tell you why not. Because there are abandoned bicycles occupying most of the parking spaces, and they have been there for more than 6 months in a number of cases to prove it. These photos have been shared with staff. Staff have sometimes said, oh, we have authority to do it. Staff have sometimes said, we'll work on it. I have seen 1 or 2 bicycles with tags placed by the town of Blacksburg. So apparently the town of Blacksburg has some authority. I've offered to draft a bicycle parking ordinance if that is necessary. But bottom line is, I was over there this afternoon on another matter, and I said, gee, are those bicycles still there as they were 2 weeks ago? And yes, they were. Would anybody like to see the photos? They're on my dumb phone, but my dumb. This has got to stop. You know, people like to use the farmer's market, even people on bicycles. That affects. You're trying to make the Draper Road area an attractive place. That bicycle parking is an eyesore. There are some abandoned bicycles that are disintegrating, that are growing up through them. Come on. You can do better than that. And I would like you haven't. Cow for somebody, bicycle there for 5 years, can sue you? I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I'd like an answer, and I'd like the problem solved, and I think you would too. So can we work together on this?
Town manager behind you, Matt Hanratty, and I have developed a written policy. I signed off onto it last week, and you didn't know any about this, but say you should have known about this, but Matt will be happy to share that with you, and we think you'll think it's pretty good, and if you have further thoughts, we can always refine it.
Well, I've been waiting to see that for 2 months now, so
Yeah.
it's a little late. Will this policy go into effect, sir?
It's effective as of now. It's been signed, but Matt, we can get you a copy tonight.
I'd love to see it. If there's anything that looks like it could be improved, I'll take the liberty of making some suggestions, but I really appreciate it if you take care of this at long last. It's been a long, hard summer, and now it's winter, and they're still there.
Well, I totally understand your mild frustration, and I think you'll find this a step in the right direction.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We are still in citizen comments. Would anyone else like to speak during this time? Anyone? We'll go ahead and close citizen comments then. Move on to appointments. We have one set of appointments for the Cemetery Trustee Advisory Board. And do we have a motion on that?
I move that we appoint Joanne Sutphen and Bob Pack to the Cemetery Trustee Advisory Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
The motion is, making you see the world different. To a partner.
off and for the special